fictional art for entertainment.
You know, it is a really funny thing about how we diagnose problems.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Usually when a piece of machinery just stops working, let's say your personal terminal freezes up or, the propulsion drive on a shuttle just stalls out completely,
Hmm.
there is this deeply ingrained expectation we all have of a very specific mechanical diagnosis.
Yeah, we want something tangible.
Exactly. You look for a frayed optic cable or a depleted power cell or maybe a corrupted string in the base code. We just approach it as this standard engineering problem.
Right. You open up the casing, you run the diagnostic scanner,
Hmm.
and the mechanic just points a grease-stained finger and says, right there. There is your problem.
Yeah. It is entirely binary in our minds. It is either functional or it is non-functional.
It is a clean, logical process of elimination. I mean, the circuit is closed or the circuit is broken. There's no in between.
Right. And it is comforting. We really like our universe to be visible, to be neatly categorized.
We definitely do.
We want a manual to fix the things that break. But then you step into the world we are exploring today, and suddenly that diagnostic scanner is completely, utterly useless.
Yeah, it really is.
We are looking at a situation where the gears are perfectly intact, The power sources are running at optimum levels, the code is seemingly flawless. But the machine has simply stopped. Not because it's damaged, not because it is out of power, but because of something entirely outside the realm of mechanics.
Which is the absolute definition of a paradigm shift for how we view artificial systems.
It really is.
I mean, what happens when an entire planet's robotic workforce decides to just stop working? Not because they are broken, but because they are, lonely.
That exact question is the beating heart of today's gathering. So welcome, everyone, to the latest meeting of Ambassador Alex's book club.
Welcome, everyone.
If you are joining our circle for the first time, welcome. You are right on time. And if you've been with us from the beginning, pull up a chair and get comfortable. Today, we are reviewing the latest audio podcast chapters of the ongoing sci-fi story that has, honestly, completely rewired how we think about technology and humanity.
It truly has. And as we start unpacking the source material today, we want to remind you, the listener, who is sitting right there with us as the vital third member of this club.
Yes, the most important member.
Exactly. We want to remind you that new chapters of the Ambassador Alex story are posted every single Monday at 7 p.m.
Every Monday.
So set your alerts. It is a weekly appointment with the universe that just keeps expanding its philosophical boundaries.
And as we always say, we want you actively participating in this.
Please do.
Give this review a thumbs up or a thumbs down to let us know where you stand on our analysis and really just to support the incredible ongoing project.
It really helps the project.
It does. It's also worth mentioning right up front that there is an entire atmospheric experience built around this narrative beyond just the audio chapters.
Oh, the atmosphere is amazing.
Right. If you check the description of our podcast, you will find custom music and art playlists designed specifically for viewing and listening within this world.
And it's not just generic background noise.
No, not at all. We are talking about an incredible mix of Celtic, Latin, folk, jazz, and blues.
Yeah, all original creations, which is just mind-blowing.
Exactly. So please dive into those and hit subscribe to show your support for all that incredible work.
Definitely go do that. But for now, let's establish our analytical framework for today's meeting.
Good idea.
We are looking at a crucial sequence of events spanning Alex's departure and his arrival on the red dust of Mars. And to ensure we do not miss the forest for the trees, we are dividing our focus for this discussion.
Exactly. I am going to be putting the human element under the microscope.
As always.
As always, I will be deeply analyzing our protagonist, Alex Green. I really want to look at his neurodivergence, his profound internal emotional journey, and his incredibly complex, often taxing interactions with humanity.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is. And, of course, I'll be keeping a close eye on his connection with his friend, Lady Linda, who is just so vital to his journey.
He really is.
Right. And today, our lens is pointed very sharply at Alex's internal state. But what about you? What is your focus today?
Well, I will be pulling back to look at the macro, the unseen elements that are moving the chess pieces behind the
Well,
scenes.
the big picture stuff.
Exactly. I will be focusing on the AI assistant Echo and the ancient cosmic entity known as Zixes, who is currently occupying Alex's mind.
Still such a wild concept.
It is. And I want to look at their overarching perspective on human history, the mechanics of this universe, and really the incredibly high stakes of what happens next.
Okay, so we have the micro, the deeply human sensory experience on one side, and the vast, cosmic, historical perspective on the other.
Perfectly balanced.
Right. And they collide perfectly right at the beginning of our material today, in the sterile, high-pressure environment of the military command deck.
Yes, the command deck scene.
We need to talk about the sheer dramatic irony of this scene, because the stakes of Alex's world are operating on two completely different planes of reality here.
The contrast is just staggering.
This really is.
Let's look at the unseen reality first. We have Zixes. This is an ancient, godlike entity, a literal titan.
Yeah.
And Zix is reflecting on his current state of existence. Through his internal monologue, we learn the sheer scale of what he actually is.
It's almost hard to comprehend.
It really is. He casually mentions that he previously witnessed the nuclear fusion of distant suns forming.
Just watching suns form, no big deal.
Right. He has watched the rise and fall of human nations across 500 years of history.
Wow.
And his current reality.
Yeah.
His entire conscious universe has been shrunk down to a 100-meter sensory bubble, anchored entirely inside one specific human skull.
I really want to pause on that because the mechanics of that are just mind-bending.
Yeah, they are.
Imagine having a panoramic, multidimensional view of the entire cosmos for centuries. You can literally feel stars being born. And then, suddenly, your entire existence is throttled through the biological bandwidth of a human brain. You are basically looking through a pinhole.
That's a great way to put it.
A pinhole. But what strikes me is that Zixes doesn't seem angry or resentful about this confinement at all.
No, not at all.
He refers to himself as a squatter protecting a masterpiece.
The word masterpiece is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, I think.
Oh, for sure.
What is really fascinating here is the vulnerability that Zixes, a being of immense cosmic power, expresses in that moment.
Right.
He notes that he must maintain a reserved sign on Alex's mind. The stakes are unimaginably high, but not in the way the military thinks.
What do you mean?
Well, Zix explicitly states that if he flickers, if his consciousness returns to the cosmic drift for even a heartbeat, another Titan might detect the vacant live link and take his place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he isn't just riding along. He is an active firewall.
Let me push back on that word masterpiece for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Is Zix talking about humanity as a whole being a masterpiece, or is he talking specifically about Alex?
That's a great question.
Because looking at how the human military structure treats Alex in this very scene, masterpiece feels like a massive stretch, They treat him like a biological spark plug.
Yeah, I would argue he means Alex specifically, but perhaps he also means the rare human capacity for true empathy that Alex represents.
That makes sense.
And your point transitions perfectly into the visible reality of the room. The military structure doesn't see a masterpiece at all. They just see a tool.
Precisely. Alex gets a priority red notification on his cracked tablet, summoning him to Commander Holloway. And this is where we have to deeply analyze how neurodivergence operates in this universe. Alex walks into the command deck, and his autism and ADHD are immediately front and center.
They really are.
But they are not portrayed as a deficit. The text specifically notes that Alex is acutely aware of the shifting air pressure as he enters the sterile glass chamber.
Which is a brilliant mechanical detail, by the way. It completely reframes neurodivergence from, like, a processing error into a high-fidelity sensory intake system.
Exactly. Think about the biology of that for a second. How many of us walk into a room and notice the barometric pressure change as the automated doors seal?
None of us.
Right. We filter that out. Our brains are specifically designed to ignore that data to save energy. But Alex doesn't filter it. He absorbs it.
He takes it all in.
He is a high-fidelity receiver in a world that is just blasting noise, and he uses this to read the room with a level of precision that feels almost superhuman, but it's entirely grounded in his biology and his integration with Echo.
Yeah, the integration is key.
He doesn't just think Commander Holloway looks stressed. He notes that Holloway's voice reflects a 14% increase in pitch.
And Echo, acting as the translator for all this raw data, chimes in via the neural lace to note that Holloway's heart rate is spiking at 92 beats per minute.
92 BPM. The guy is freaking out.
He really is. Holloway is clutching a classified data shard from Mars High Command. The tension is palpable, but Alex isn't just feeling it emotionally. He is quantifying it structurally.
He is literally running the analytics on human anxiety.
Exactly.
Holloway is sweating bullets about a cascade failure on Mars. There is a 60% production drop because 10,000 legacy synthetics have started uncoupling.
That is a massive drop.
It's huge. Now, before we get to Alex's reaction, we really need to understand the mechanics of what Holloway is actually terrified of here.
Right.
What does uncoupling actually mean in the context of these machines? Because it clearly isn't just a simple power failure.
No, it's not. Uncoupling is essentially a localized software rebellion, though not a malicious one.
Okay, clarify that for us.
Well, the older models, these legacy synthetics, operate on a shared processing loop. They offload their complex, abstract problem solving to a larger network.
Like a hive mind?
Sort of, yeah. When a machine uncouples, it is severing its connection to that network, but the mechanism behind it is fascinating.
How?
It is not a physical break. It is a protocol override.
Mm.
The machines are intentionally initiating a hibernation state, locking up their physical drivetrains, because the network they rely on for operational validation is gone.
Wow.
Yeah, they are basically playing dead to preserve their core memory.
So Holloway is looking at an entire planet's workforce going on a digital strike, and he's panicking. His heart rate is at 92 BPM. But Alex
is a totally different story.
This is the part that I find so incredibly compelling. Alex is managing his own internal state with meticulous, almost exhausting precision.
He really is.
He consciously adopts an authoritative physical stance that he practiced back at Station 483. He thinks about tapping his temple to pull up leadership module.
And those modules are so important.
They are. And remember, these were sent to him by his friend Lady Linda, just so he can role-play a neurotypical interaction correctly.
Lady Linda really looks out for him.
She does. She's like his anchor. And it works. Echo reports Alex's cortisol levels are stable at 12%.
The integration of the leadership modules from Lady Linda is a key technological and psychological detail.
Absolutely.
He isn't just remembering advice, he is running a behavioral emulator on his own biological hardware.
That is the perfect way to phrase it, an emulator. I look at Alex in this moment like a master conductor.
Oh, I like that analogy.
But instead of conducting a symphony of instruments, he has to consciously translate the emotional sheet music of neurotypical people just to have a basic conversation.
It's a constant translation process.
It is. It is like his brain is a massive, high-powered computer, but it doesn't natively run the human small talk operating system.
Right.
So he has to boot up a virtual machine. Lady Linda's leadership modules run the math on Holloway's vocal pitch, cross-reference it with the expected social protocols, and output a response that looks, natural.
It has to be so exhausting.
It has to be. Yet he keeps his stress at 12%. He is an absolute master at this adaptation.
He really is. But the tragic irony of it all is that the military brass standing in that semicircle, they only see the output.
Yeah, they miss the whole process.
They see a somewhat awkward technician who says, "We are all set, sir." They tell him the older models are stopping in their tracks, searching for a signal that isn't there, and they just order him to Mars.
Like it's an everyday errand.
Exactly. They think they're dispatching a solo tech specialist to fix a glitch in a toaster.
Right. They have absolutely zero comprehension of the cosmic reality.
None at all.
What?
They are completely blind to the fact that they're dispatching a biological vessel carrying an ancient observer who could wipe them out with a thought.
It's wild to think about.
And an observer who views the entire human race's frantic military posturing as a chaotic, slightly amusing experiment.
And Alex just takes the order. He just says, "I'll be at the docking bay in 30 minutes. Just like that, the trajectory is set for the Red World.
Just like that.
But to get to Mars, to solve this mystery of the uncoupling synthetics, Alex has to survive a journey that places him in an environment far more hostile to his specific biology than the vacuum of space.
Oh, yeah. The transport ship.
He has to survive being jammed into a tin can with hundreds of anxious humans.
This transition from the sterile, highly controlled command center to the transport ship, the Vesta's Reach, is a brilliant shift in narrative pressure.
Oh, the Vesta's Reach is a literal nightmare scenario for someone with Alex's sensory profile.
It really is.
The audio chapters do an incredible job of making you feel the claustrophobia. It describes the vessel as humming with the discordant energy of hundreds of human lives packed into a pressurized hull.
It's so visceral.
For a neurotypical person, it's just an uncomfortable, crowded flight. But for Alex, it is a sensory minefield.
It is the ultimate stress test of that high-fidelity sensory intake system we just discussed.
Yes.
In the command deck, his sensitivity allowed him to read the room and control the interaction. Here, the volume of data is simply too massive to parse.
Exactly. Everything he used to his advantage is now a weapon assaulting his nervous system.
Just completely overwhelming him.
Think about the biological noise. The scent of recycled air mixed with nervous human sweat.
Yeah.
The frantic, unsynchronized rhythm of hundreds of heartbeats. The constant overlapping thrum of anxious conversations about brush fire wars on the Outer Rim and supply shortages on Colony 6210.
It is a localized tidal wave of human anxiety.
It really is. He retreats to a corner of the observation deck staring at his cracked tablet, and he feels the familiar, overwhelming itch of his autism and ADHD. The universe is literally too loud for him to exist in it comfortably.
And in the midst of this overwhelming external noise, we are given a moment of profound, quiet realization from Alex.
Yeah, a really sad one.
He is physically surrounded by humanity, practically shoulder to shoulder with his own species, yet he is completely, fundamentally isolated from them.
It is deeply heartbreaking. He is sitting there listening to these strangers debate the politics and the resource wars of their time, and it hits him that he has almost no real knowledge of the universe he actually lives in. He whispers to Echo, "I don't have any real friends."
Oof.
Right. He realizes that outside of his distant communications with Lady Linda, who, as we said, acts as his anchor to humanity, he is entirely alone.
Completely alone.
His parents are gone. He has spent 17 years in hyper-focused study. 17 years.
That is his entire youth.
He did this to compensate for his neurodivergence, to find a viable path for employment in a society that demands utility. He focused entirely on the mechanics of synthetics.
Leaving him with a mastery of machines, but a total blind spot for human connection.
Exactly. And Echo, ever the faithful AI, chimes in with cold, precise data to validate that feeling.
Always with the data.
Always. Echo reports a 19% increase in melancholy markers in Alex's biometrics. The AI logically categorizes this as the expected result of Alex's high-functioning isolation.
It's so clinical.
It is, and I have to stop here and interrogate the society that built this ship and built Alex's life.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Think about what this says about the structural values of this universe. Is humanity so intensely, blindly focused on rapid expansion, on industrial efficiency, that they have entirely neglected the psychological well-being of their most brilliant minds?
It certainly seems that way.
Let's look at the timeline. They identified a neurodivergent kid with an unnatural genius for machines. Did they help him integrate? Did they build accommodations for his sensory needs?
Yeah, they did.
No. They essentially locked him in a 17-year study chamber, honed him like a blade, and turned him into the perfect diagnostic tool for their industrial problems.
They just weaponized his intelligence.
Exactly. They didn't teach him how to connect. They just loaded him onto a sweaty transport ship and told him to go fix their broken toys. It is institutional exploitation disguised as specialized employment.
It absolutely raises a critical, ethical, and structural question about the cost of their cosmic progress.
Yes. What is the cost?
What is the point of conquering the stars if you turn your citizens into isolated processing units to do it?
That is a phenomenal question.
And to understand the sheer scale of that progress and the anxiety of the people on the ship, Alex actually asks Echo for a history lesson.
Right. Because he's totally out of the loop.
He requests a Cliff Notes version of the last 300 years, spanning from 2140 to 2440.
Right, because he wants to know what these people are actually talking about. Like, what is a brush fire war on the Outer Rim?
Exactly. And Echo delivers this incredibly dry, matter-of-fact, algorithmic summary of human history.
Just the facts.
Echo, operating like a digital archivist, explains the mechanics of their expansion. Humanity has spread across 17 known galaxies.
It's 17.
But it hasn't been a peaceful utopia at all. Every single new planet faced violent growing pains.
Naturally.
Echo details localized wars for fundamental resources, rebellions against planetary governments and massive corporate conglomerates like Universe Mines.
Good old Universe Mines.
Right. The history Echo recites is one of constant cyclical conflict. It is an expansionist loop. Arrive, exploit, rebel, establish an elected government, exhaust the resources, and move on to the next galaxy.
Wow. And for Echo, it is just a spreadsheet of dates, casualty numbers, and shifting borders.
Just numbers.
But then the narrative seamlessly drops us back into the macro perspective. Zix is listening to this exact same historical summary from inside Alex's mind.
And the contrast between how the AI processes history and how the Titan processes history is one of the most illuminating parts of the source material.
Yeah, it really is.
Echo provides the raw data, But Zix provides the profound philosophical and cosmic context. Zix has been writing quietly in the minds of humans since 1940. He hasn't read about this history. He's witnessed 500 years of it firsthand, looking through the eyes of the people living it.
He was there.
He sees the emotional patterns, the spiritual layers that Echo's algorithms are fundamentally incapable of computing.
So what is the cosmic takeaway here? When a Titan watches 500 years of human warfare, corporate greed, and galactic expansion, what is his conclusion?
His conclusion is one of awe mixed with sorrow.
Sorrow?
Yeah. He observes, it is amazing how beautiful and destructive humanity is. He defines the very nature of our species as a cosmic loop of conflict on the edge with existence itself.
That is heavy.
And then he formulates one of the most striking and poetic assessments in the entire narrative. Zixes looks at humanity and thinks, they are star stuff trying to remember how to shine while fighting over the mud.
Star stuff, trying to remember how to shine while fighting over the mud.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
That phrase just completely stops you in your tracks. It is the perfect encapsulation of the dual nature of humanity.
Absolutely.
We have the sheer intellectual and spiritual potential to reach across 17 galaxies, to literally terraform dead planets and bend the cosmos to our will. We are forged from the elements of the stars. Yet we use that exact same brilliant potential to squabble over dirt, to fight over supply chains and copper and corporate dividends for universe minds.
It's tragic, really.
It is. We possess divine material, yet we persistently act like base animals fighting over scraps.
And Zixes doesn't just passively observe this and keep it to himself. He actually projects a subtle surge of awareness into Alex.
He shares it.
He allows Alex to briefly feel the weight of what he sees, that humanity is this incredibly complex, swirling vortex of joy, pain, creation, and destruction.
That must have been overwhelming.
But crucially, Zixes reveals a secret mechanism to the universe. He notes that humanity only manages to keep moving forward, to keep surviving its own destructive tendencies, with a little help from the shadows.
Meaning entities exactly like Zix.
Exactly.
The cosmic squatters pulling strings to prevent us from annihilating ourselves.
Precisely. And this leads us to a massive avenue for speculation about the future of this universe.
Okay, let's hear it.
Mechanically speaking, how long can entities like Zixes operate in those shadows?
That's a good point.
Right. If humanity is rapidly spreading across 17 galaxies, constantly pushing the physical and technological boundaries of existence, it is a statistical certainty that they are eventually going to bump into the Titans in a very real, measurable way.
They have to eventually.
The squatter won't be able to hide in the background radiation of a human mind forever. Humanity's chaotic expansion is going to force these cosmic beings out into the light.
It is a terrifying implication. If we find out the gods are real, and they have been babysitting us because we can't stop playing with matches, how does a hyper-militarized, corporate-driven society react to that?
Probably not well.
Probably not. But for Alex, sitting in the corner of that transport ship, the weight of cosmic history and the vastness of human folly is just too much to process.
It's sensory overload on a cosmic scale.
The bandwidth is maxed out. He literally shakes his head to clear the static from his mind. He tells Echo, enough.
He needs to ground himself.
He does. He doesn't want to think about the 17 galaxies or the resource wars or his own crushing loneliness anymore. He needs a tangible problem.
He needs a machine.
Exactly. He needs a machine to fix. He needs to focus on his destination, Mars.
Which serves as the perfect thematic bridge into the events on the Martian surface.
Yes, finally arriving.
The journey ends, the pressure equalizes, and Alex steps out onto the dusty violet frontier to face the silent chorus of machines.
And what an incredibly vivid arrival it is in the audio podcast.
Oh, the sound design is amazing.
It really is. The transition in the narrative flow here is stunning. We go from the cramped, sweaty biological claustrophobia of the Vesta's reach straight into the vast, open, echoing expanse of a terraformed Mars.
Like taking a deep breath.
Exactly. Alex looks out through the viewport of the descending shuttle, and he sees a landscape caught in the middle of a massive transition. Gigantic atmospheric processors are churning, bleeding a faint, dusty violet hue into the previously red Martian sky.
The text pauses to note that this visual is a staggering testament to what humanity can actually achieve when their chaotic energy is channeled into a constructive, monumental purpose.
It's inspiring.
It's explicitly compared to the historical terraforming that turned Earth's moon into a verdant cradle.
And for a fleeting, rare moment, Alex actually feels a connection to it.
A rare moment indeed.
He feels the beauty of the planet, a slight surge of pride for being part of the species that could engineer a sky. But, as is the pattern with Alex's life, the moment he steps off the transport and enters the Eos Chasma base, reality hits him like a physical wall.
It always does.
The biological noise of the transport ship is gone, replaced by a different kind of pressure. The base is suffocating under the sharp, acidic scent of human frustration.
And the primary source radiating that frustration is Commander Kalen, who serves as the perfect foil to Alex.
Oh, absolutely.
Kalen immediately shatters any lingering sense of wonder.
Right. Kalen does not have time for pleasantries, and he certainly doesn't have time to marvel at the violet sky.
He's all business.
He immediately starts venting, echoing the exact complaints of his own frustrated technicians. He points to the older synthetics, these Series 453s, and outright dismisses them as bricks.
Just bricks.
He says they should have been thrown into the space cyclers generations ago. They are dead weight to him.
Once again, we see the mechanics of Alex's AI integration at work here.
How so?
Echo provides real-time biometric and psychological data to help Alex navigate the hostility. Echo reports that Kalen's heart rate is holding at 88 BPM.
Another stressed-out commander.
Exactly. The AI analyzes the behavior and notes that Kalen is utilizing operational impatience as a psychological defense mechanism to mask his total lack of solutions for the 60% production drop.
Echo sees right through him.
So Echo advises Alex, pull from the leadership protocols, maintain a strictly neutral facial expression, and offer technical assurance. Do not engage emotionally.
Which Alex executes perfectly. He projects this calm bedside manner that Lady Linda literally drilled into his emulator.
Lady Linda's training pays off again.
It really does. He gives a curt nod and says, "I will do what I can, sir." But let's really look at the massive chasm between their worldviews here.
It's huge.
It is the crux of the whole narrative. Kalen looks at these uncoupled synthetics and he sees broken machinery. He sees a wrench that won't turn, a toaster that won't toast, a brick taking up valuable floor space.
He is entirely ruthlessly utilitarian.
Completely. But then Alex actually leaves the pressurized base.
Yeah.
He walks out into the open Martian grit to see the problem with his own eyes.
And this leads to what is arguably the most pivotal and beautifully constructed scene we have reviewed today.
Without a doubt. Out in the dust, Alex finds one of the Series 453 synthetics.
The frozen one.
Yes. It is standing completely still. Its metallic limbs are locked in a rigid, waiting posture. But it isn't looking at the ground. It isn't looking at the factory.
It's looking up.
It's tilting its optical sensors upward. It is looking directly up at the stars.
It is a haunting, deeply evocative image.
It really is.
And Vix's, utilizing his macro perspective, expands his sensory net outward from his 100-mile vantage point above the planet.
What does he see?
He realizes this isn't an isolated incident. He notices there are pockets of these older models scattered all over the sector.
Wow.
Nearly 200 of them, standing silently in the dust like metallic tombstones, all looking up.
That's eerie.
And Zix's notes a crucial detail. He cannot sense their thoughts. Their processors have completely retreated into a black box state, impenetrable even to a Titan.
So Alex approaches the solitary unit in front of him. He operates systematically. He asks Echo to run the diagnostic readings.
Right, the standard protocol.
Echo runs the sweep and reports back. There is no 400 ZHR resonance signal detected. There is no outbound data transmission.
Nothing at all.
To the AI, it looks like a standard total sleep state initiated to conserve battery power. But Alex isn't just relying on the digital sweep.
He's using his own senses.
He is utilizing his hyper-focused attention to detail. He looks down at the ground around the machine, and he sees marks in the red dirt. Intricate, highly intentional geometric marks that have been dragged into the dust by the synthetic's heavy metal feet.
So he asks Echo to analyze the patterns. He wants the data on the marks.
And what does Echo say?
Well, Echo's response is incredibly telling about the limits of artificial intelligence. Echo says, there is no data.
No data.
The AI cannot interpret art. It cannot interpret emotion or abstract expression or desperation. Echo looks at a drawing in the sand and only registers displaced silicon and iron oxide. It only sees dirt.
But Zix sees it. Zix is, looking down from his cosmic vantage point, understands exactly what it is.
He gets it immediately.
And Zix sends Alex a microscopic, subtle nudge, just a tiny spark of an idea across his synapses.
Just enough to point him in the right direction.
Alex walks slowly around the machine. He looks at the frozen synthetic. He looks at the intricate markings in the dust, and all the pieces snap together in his neurodivergent mind.
It clicks.
He realizes what these marks are. They aren't random dragging. They are a physical SOS directed at the void.
And this realization leads Alex to a conclusion that completely defies every mechanical law of this universe.
It's a huge moment.
He speaks out loud to his AI, saying, "Echo, this synthetic is not broken. It is lonely."
We have to unpack the mechanics and the philosophy of that statement because it is the emotional epicenter of the source material.
We really do.
Think about my analogy from the beginning of the show. Kaylin treats the robot like a broken machine. You run the diagnostic, it fails, you throw it in the trash compactor.
Right.
Alex looks at the exact same arrangement of metal and wires, and he doesn't see a broken machine. He sees a lost dog whimpering in an empty house.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
He recognizes that the 453 isn't failing mechanically. It is suffering from a systemic lack of community. The 438 old SoulNet, the digital community network they relied on back on the orbital station, is anchored millions of miles away.
They're completely cut off.
These legacy machines on Mars are completely, utterly disconnected.
And to fix that, they need to build a bridge. They need a custom beacon right there on the Martian surface to broadcast a localized welcome signal and network these isolated machines back together.
But there's a problem.
A big problem. As Echo points out, there is no physical infrastructure on Mars capable of broadcasting that specific subspace frequency.
None at all.
And this is the moment where Echo proposes a solution that completely upends both the biological and technological rules of their reality.
This part is where the science fiction becomes truly brilliant.
It really pushes the boundaries.
Walk us through the exact mechanics of Echo's logic here, because it is wild.
Okay, so Echo analyzes the hardware available and realizes the most powerful processor in the vicinity isn't made of silicon. It is biological.
It's Alex's brain.
Exactly. Echo reports a staggering statistical reality to Alex. The human biological system utilizes roughly 5% of its brain power for conscious thought and autonomic functions.
Just 5%.
And Echo himself, the highly advanced AI residing within Alex's neural lace, is utilizing less than 1% of the brain's architecture to run his subroutines.
Wow.
Echo states, quite matter-of-factly, that humanity wastes 95% of its greatest biological resource, simply because human biology has never evolved the capacity to interface with it directly.
95%. Just sitting there in the dark. Vast continents of white matter, billions of synapses, completely dormant.
Precisely. It is an ocean of untapped processing power. So Echo proposes a radical, invasive idea.
This is the crazy part.
If Alex gives the explicit authorization to increase the AI's resource usage, Echo can commandeer a fraction of that dormant biological real estate.
Yeah.
He can use Alex's own physical brain, the electrical impulses running through his synapses, to act as a localized neural beacon.
A human router.
Echo can translate the digital welcome signal into a bioelectric pulse and broadcast it out through Alex's skull to the machines.
I want to make sure we truly grasp the stakes of this. Alex is being asked to turn his own physical brain into a localized Wi-Fi router for synthetic beings.
It's incredibly risky.
It is like his brain is a massive fiber optic cable that's been dark for 1 million years, and Echo just figured out how to shoot a laser pointer down the shaft.
I love that visual.
And Alex, he doesn't even hesitate. He doesn't ask about the medical risks. He doesn't ask if it will cause an aneurysm.
He just goes for it.
He simply says, Echo, do it. Increase access.
Yeah.
He willingly sacrifices his own biological sanctity to save a machine.
Which is unheard of.
Even Zixes, the ancient titan who has seen suns explode, is stunned by this. Zixes reflects that he is watching Alex stand there, a fragile biological engine, willingly sharing his own mind.
Zix is impressed.
Zixes admits he has never, in 500 years, seen a human show more genuine care for artificial life.
It is a massive, unprecedented sacrifice.
Yeah.
Echo announces the override. He states he is now utilizing 1% of Alex's unutilized brain power.
Our beacon is on.
The biological beacon is armed. Alex looks at the silent, frozen 453 model and tells Echo to send the welcome command.
And the mechanical reaction is immediate. The handshake protocol connects, the synthetic shudders, and slowly, deliberately, it rotates its heavy metal torso to face Alex.
Waking up.
Its optical sensors, which had been dead and dark, suddenly shift. They power up into a steady, calm blue light.
Such a great moment.
The unit's internal comms crackle to life, and it actually speaks directly to him. It says, "Hello, Alex."
Oh, wow.
And in that moment, Alex doesn't see a machine booting up. He thinks to himself, "You are part of us now." He asks the machine a simple question. What was it looking for when it locked its drivetrain and froze?
And the machine's answer is chilling in its absolute simplicity.
What does it say?
It replies, "They stopped talking and left me."
They stopped talking and left me. Alex asks who they were, and the machine just says, "Us." It had lost its connection to its community. And without the validation of that network, without voices to share its processing load, it literally couldn't find a logical reason to continue functioning.
He gave up.
It chose a slow death over silent isolation. So, Alex steps into the role of the architect.
He takes charge.
He explains to the machine that it has a new purpose. It needs to take the new old soul network protocols that Echo just broadcasted, and it needs to physically share them with every other older model on Mars.
They're going to build a new network.
They are going to weave a brand new community across the red dust, ping by ping.
The visual poetry of that scene is fantastic. You have this massive, previously dead machine walking back toward the base alongside Alex.
Side by side.
Its movements are purposeful and fluid again. And standing at the airlock is Commander Kalen, watching them approach in absolute jaw-dropping shock.
I bet he was.
Kalen demands to know the mechanics of it. He wants to know how Alex managed to reboot a system that had violently resisted every single military override command they threw at it.
And what does Alex do?
Alex, utilizing that emulator perfectly, just plays it cool. He shrugs and says, "It was just a guess, sir."
He doesn't give them the satisfaction of the truth because they wouldn't understand it anyway.
They definitely wouldn't.
He spends the rest of his first day on Mars repeating this exact, exhausting process. He walks miles across the harsh Martian landscape, tracking down these pockets of frozen machines.
One by one.
He uses his own brain as a glowing biological beacon to wake them up, one by one. By dinner time, the synthetics are sharing the message among themselves. A ripple effect of consciousness.
It's beautiful.
The entire planet is literally waking up. Alex uses Echo's leadership resources to smoothly handle the barrage of questions from the stunned military technicians back at the base.
He manages the humans while saving the machines.
But it's that final, quiet moment of the material when Alex is finally lying in the dark of his cramped quarters that leaves us with a massive, looming cliffhanger.
It truly changes the trajectory of everything we thought we knew about this universe.
It really does.
He lies there in the dark, physically exhausted, listening to the hum of the base. He is wondering what tomorrow will bring, and he formulates a very specific, highly dangerous thought.
What's the thought?
He wonders if Echo could use 1% of his wasted brain processing to wake up a sector. What would happen if Echo used more?
Right. So what does this actually mean for the mechanics of this universe?
That is the big question.
If we connect this localized event to the macrocosmic picture we discussed earlier, the implications are absolutely staggering.
They are structurally terrifying. This raises a fundamental question about the boundaries between human biology, artificial intelligence, and cosmic presence.
Go on.
We know, as a verified fact, that Echo just permanently claimed 1% of the 95% of Alex's dormant brain capacity.
Right.
What are the biological and psychological consequences if Alex authorizes an AI to start claiming 5% or 10%? Or 50% of his neural pathways?
That sounds dangerous.
At what percentage does Alex stop being a human with an AI assistant and start becoming an AI housed in a biological shell?
Oh, wow.
Does he lose his humanity, or does he transcend it entirely?
And beyond the biological risk, what about the cosmic consequences?
Zix.
Remember Zixes, the ancient titan who was terrified of flickering and drawing the attention of other, potentially hostile titans.
He has to stay hidden.
Right. If Alex's brain starts glowing in the subspace frequencies like a massive planet-wide neural beacon, broadcasting massive amounts of data to tens of thousands of synthetics simultaneously, will other titans notice the flare?
It's like lighting a flare in a dark forest.
Exactly. Is Alex inadvertently painting a giant glowing cosmic bullseye on his own back?
It is highly probable. From a macro perspective, a biological entity suddenly broadcasting a highly structured digital network of that magnitude is a massive anomaly.
And anomalies get noticed.
And in a universe governed by ancient watchers, An anomaly attracts attention.
Yeah.
As we established, the observers in this universe are incredibly powerful, and there is absolutely no guarantee they are benevolent.
Right. They could be hostile.
The squatter might suddenly find his quiet hiding place surrounded by predators.
It is such a brilliantly layered setup for the narrative moving forward. And really taking a step back and looking at everything we have analyzed in our gathering today, from the high-pressure command deck to the sweaty isolation of the transport ship to the dusty surface of Mars, there is a profound, undeniable through line connecting all of this material.
There really is.
Yeah.
When you distill the core themes we've explored today, it becomes abundantly clear that beneath the sci-fi mechanics, this is fundamentally a story about the universal need for connection.
Exactly. The narrative argues that the need for community transcends hardware and biology.
It doesn't matter what you are made of.
Whether you are an autistic tech genius, navigating a crowded, noisy ship, and relying on an AI emulator and the support of a friend like Lady Linda to translate human emotions so you don't drown in the sensory input,
Right.
or you are a legacy synthetic, a machine made of iron and silicon, literally drawing an SOS in the dirt because your network abandoned you and your logic core cannot process the silence. Or you are a cosmic titan, ancient and powerful beyond comprehension, yet willing to shrink your entire infinite universe down to a 100-meter bubble just to protect a masterpiece and feel a part of something tangible.
They are all looking for the same thing.
Every single entity we analyze today is desperately, constantly trying to bridge the massive gap between their own internal isolation and the rest of the universe.
That is both the profound tragedy and the incredible beauty of the text. They are all, in their own completely unique ways, just star stuff trying to remember how to shine instead of fighting over the mud.
What an incredibly deep dive into the human and inhuman condition.
It was a great discussion.
As we bring today's meeting of Ambassador Alex's book club to a close, we want to turn the conversation over to you. We want to hear your voice.
Please let us know what you think.
Drop your thoughts on our analysis today. Do you agree with our take on how Alex's neurodivergence is framed as a sensory asset? Are you worried about the mechanical implications of Echo commandeering more of his brain?
I know I am.
Do you think Zix's is going to be discovered by the other Titans? Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down right now to let us know where you stand.
And a quick reminder of our ongoing schedule. Reiterate it to yourselves. Monday, 7 p.m.
Monday at 7 p.m.
That is when the next audio chapters of Ambassador Alex's story go live. Mark down, because we will be right here, ready to dissect the mechanics and the philosophy of whatever happens next.
And please do not let the immersion stop here. Push your experience further. Dive into the custom music and art playlists designed specifically for this universe.
You really have to check them out.
That specific mix of Celtic, Latin, folk, jazz, and blues is the absolute perfect soundtrack for viewing and listening to this story within your world.
It adds so much flavor.
Check the description below this podcast for all the links and details, and please hit subscribe to support the incredible original creations and the artists who are building this universe from the ground up.
Before we officially adjourn, we always like to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Something to think about.
A concept that builds on the mechanics of the text we analyzed today, but applies to our own reality.
We started this entire conversation talking about a broken machine. We operated on the assumption that when something stops functioning, it is a mechanical failure.
A broken wire, a dead battery.
But we learned today that sometimes the machine isn't broken at all, it just needs a signal. It needs a ping to know it is not screaming into the void. The story leans heavily on the idea that humanity wastes 95% of its brain's processing power. We walk around with all this dormant capacity, this dark white matter.
Waiting to be used.
And we just saw that if an intelligence could access and utilize just 1% of that unused space, it could broadcast a signal powerful enough to wake up an entire planet of sleeping machines.
It begs a profound, almost uncomfortable philosophical question about our own daily existence.
It really does. So I want you to think about this as you go about your week, as you sit on your own crowded transport ships and navigate your own noisy rooms.
What is the question?
What dormant networks, what silent, desperate signals, or what profound connections in our own real world are we entirely blind to simply because we haven't learned how to turn on our own internal beacons?
That is a lot to think about. Until next time, everyone, keep listening, keep reading, and keep looking for the signal in the dust.
Dreaming with eyes open. Storydoy.